TSF Entertainment.
Yo, and welcome back to TSF Entertainment. This time we are bringing you BMF Episode 3 Sanctuary exclusive picks and predictions. Now, some of these pictures you have already seen from last week's trailer for Episode 3, and some of them you haven't, which they are new and exclusive picks for Episode 3. So let's just go ahead and let's just get right into it. Episode 3 synopsis says Jack the Rapper weekend turns into chaos when Meech, Glock, the MKs, and the Red Dogs collide. Meech is determined to foster BMF in Atlanta, starting by purchasing a home with the help of his father. So, here, as you saw in last week's trailer, we saw this scene with Ren King. They didn't show exactly what happened in the scene, but judging from the still, we can see that the Ren King is extremely upset. We know that Ren King is upset with her father as he will not allow her to run the business, the family business, the way that she wants to. And we know that T pulled out of his deal with her. So here I'm thinking more than likely Ren is gassing up her troops to go to war with T and the BMF crew in Detroit. Here we have Charles here at the house playing an instrument, looking very happy. Now, this scene right here looks like a flashback scene. As we saw in the last week's episode, when the episode started, we saw Beach and Terry as kids doing magic in front of Charles, Lucille, and Nicole. So this here looks like a flashback scene. So it's probably a flashback scene of Charles, playing for the family. Everyone is happy. The Flannery family, they're all just, up and dancing. Or it could quite possibly be that Charles is playing music, trying to win Lucille back. Here in this scene, we have Terry Jr., and LaWanda. If you have seen BMF season 3 for the entire season trailer, then you'll know this is the exact scene where Child Services comes to visit them. Child Services shows up and comes to visit to check on Terry Jr. and is he in a safe home. Now I'm thinking this is stemming from Terry being shot at when he was with Marquisha. As we know, he took Marquisha to the hospital. So I'm sure how, some way his name got into, maybe some type of paperwork. And Child Services sees this and they want to go to check on Terry Jr., just to see if he is safe. Now, it also could be a quite possibility that maybe Detective Bryant made an anonymous tip to Child Services. As we know, Detective Bryant this season is going to try to do any and everything he possibly can to take down Terry and Meech. It also could be quite possible that maybe Blaze was the one, as we know he has some strong political connections, and may possibly been Ren King making an anonymous tip as she's still upset with T for pulling out on their deal. So there are likely things that could possibly happen as to why Child Services shows up, but we do know that Child Services shows up. Here in this scene, we have Meech at the infamous Jack the Rapper convention. And for those who don't know, Jack the Rapper convention was a huge convention that was started to help Black artists, Black radio, Black music, etc. Help all of that, get to the forefront and whatnot, which is why in the trailer you saw the different radio stations like Hot 97, and so forth. So here we have Meech, and he's talking to two new characters. The guy to the left name is Jay Pusher, and then the guy to the right name is Carter. Now, some of you may remember Carter from Snowfall. I think he was in maybe 1 or 2 episodes, and I believe his name was Lamont, but he was in Snowfall. Now, I'm not 100% sure as there has been no confirmation to this, but it looks like that the Jay Pusher character is played none other than by Bodie from The Wire, whose real name is JD Williams. Now, again, don't quote me on this as there has been no confirmation, but this character, Jay Pusher, looks a lot like Bodie from The Wire. Another thing that we do know is in the Jack the Rapper convention, we are going to see a character who is playing a young Tupac, which happened in real life as Tupac actually went to the Jack the Rapper convention. So I'm not sure who's the character. I'm not sure what he is going to be doing in reference to BMF, but we will see a character in this episode play a young Tupac at the convention. So here is the long awaited introduction for little baby's character Pain, and we have him here with Meech. Now, what we do know about Pain is that he is a soldier for STARZ, and he is very eager to get bread along with Meech. So we finally get to see little baby characters Pain in this upcoming episode. Here we have Charles and Meech, and as the synopsis says, Charles helps Meech buy a house down in Atlanta, and that also happened in real life. So here it looks like they're just discussing things in Meech's new house. We see the paperwork, which I'm sure is none other than Charles signing the paperwork for the new house for Meech. And I'm also sure here that Charles is going to have some type of discussion with Meech, of course, of him being in the game still, and having him come down there and put stuff in his name and so forth. Here, which we've seen this picture before the beginning of season 3 started, we see Stacks, we see Pain, and we see a new character. I'm not sure what his name is, but we see them here in, which I'm more than likely sure is Duffy's studio. And I'm sure here, this is where Meech is telling Stacks and Pain about the new supplier that they got with Loco, how they're going to move forward in the streets with BMF and how he's trying to plant his own flag down there in Atlanta. Another thing that we know is that, as we can see from that last scene, that Stacks is wearing the exact same shirt in this scene here where Meech is shooting at somebody. Now, I'm not sure if that is the same house where the studio is at, but I'm leaning towards that it actually is, because if you look in that last scene, we saw Meech standing there in a black jacket. So it looks like they're going to get some rivals showing up at their door, and Meech shoots back to defend himself. Here we have Glock, which is a new character this season. We finally get to see Glock here in episode 3, and he's talking to Charles. And of course, they are at the Jack the Rapper convention. Now, what he's talking to Charles about, I'm not really sure. It could just be, maybe just random talk, or he's possibly telling Charles, hey, your son is out here playing the dangerous game out here in these streets. Like, he's moving this way, he's moving that way. Maybe you need to talk some sense into your son because he's playing a very dangerous game out here. Or it could be, Glock is, possibly trying to press him for some information about Meech, or maybe just using this as a scare tactic towards Charles to scare Meech. Here we have Meech and Charles at the convention. Not sure what's going on here. It kind of looks like Charles is happy, but Meech isn't. Maybe this is the after scene from when Glock talks to Charles, and Charles let Meech know, like, hey, this guy came up to me, this is what he said, and so forth. Or, could be telling Meech, hey, maybe this is what you want to do instead of being out here in the streets. I'm into music, let's get into this music thing. We can make so much money, we can do it right, and we can do it legally. So that could be possibly as to what is going on here in this scene right here. Also, we know at the convention, Claude and the Techwook boys, which is Remy Ranson crew, they show up to the convention and a brawl ends up breaking out. Now, as to a backstory, a brawl actually did happen. I want to say 93, 94 actually happened at the convention. There was a huge brawl. So as we can see that, this happened in real life, that it was a huge brawl. Now it didn't have anything to do with the BMF crew, in real life back at the convention. But we do know that, hey, they are basically reenacting a brawl that happened at the convention. And we see the police come in. Now, I'm going to assume possibly that maybe these are the Red Dogs, as it said in the description. Misha's going up against the MKs, Techwood, and the Red Dogs. They all collide. So I'm thinking here this is the infamous Red Dog crew coming to the convention and basically just shut everything down, gathering up as many people as possible to try to lock them up and get information out of them to shut down Meech, MKs, Techwoods, all of it. Here in this scene, which is a new scene, we have Meech along with Rip, Charles, and Duffy, and we have them in Duffy's studio. We see Meech and his pop shaking hands, and I'm sure it's probably, he's just thanking his pops, for coming down, helping him, sign papers for the new house and whatnot, just getting everything, just being grateful, just being thankful. Now, for those previous scenes, as you can see, Meech is wearing the exact same jacket he had on when he was shooting back at someone. So we do know that this is the outfit that Meech has on when he was shooting back at who we don't know he was shooting at, which makes me believe even more is that that scene is going to happen at Duffy's studio basement. Here we have Markeisha, who is sitting down at a mirror having a glass of wine. From last episode, we saw that she told T that they can no longer live together right now. She's still married to Boom. She is scared, thinking that Boom's never going to stop. She has 2 kids to worry about. So we see her here in the house that Terry bought. Now, thinking maybe this is possible that, maybe she's having regrets or whatnot for, telling Terry, like, hey, you have to go. Or this could just be one of those scenes where now she's very upset because she's happened to hear on the streets that since she pushed him away and told him to leave, T has gone back to none other than his baby mama, LaWanda. And here we have Lucille and Terry, which more than likely it looks like it is at Terry's restaurant. Not sure, but we can see that Lucille looks very concerned as well as Terry. So we know this conversation here is something serious. Lucille is probably telling him, the usual, you got to get your life right. You got to get out the game. They also could be could be quite possible that they're discussing the whole thing with child services coming to their house and making sure that Terry Jr. is safe. So here Lucille's probably, just telling him like, hey, this is what happens when you're in the life. You need to make sure you get yourself right and make sure that everything that you can do to keep Terry Jr. safe and in your life not to be taken away from child services. And that's it. So please let us know. Drop your comments and your predictions down below and let us know what you think based off of those pictures and scenes that you just saw.